You talk about colonize Mars, for example, and do you think that the time for dreams of space conquest is over now, and that except for some probes, robots, the man is not ready to put the foot on other planets? Or do you think that we can soon pursue this old dream and go on Mars, for instance, at the Mars 500 mission, let's think?
Oh, well, that's an interesting question. You know, I think 50 years ago, everybody thought Mars was habitable fairly easily, and so naturally we would go there. And now we think Mars is a very difficult place to survive, even though it's the most hospitable place in the solar system outside the Earth. But the exoplanets, the new planets in the sky, orbiting other stars, some of them, you know, well, the Earth-like worlds that we're now discovering, even around red suns, which fascinates me because most of the stars in the sky are red dwarfs, most of them. So if you can have a habitable planet orbiting a red dwarf, suddenly the universe is much more generous with habitability than it used to be. So I think in the longer term, let's say 1,000 years, I'm sure we could be out there among the stars if we can just develop a technology, because there are habitable worlds out there, but they're 5 or 10 or 15 light years away. Whereas the planets that are 18 months travel away, like Mars, are much more difficult to colonize. But we'll surely have to do one before the other. I mean, I don't think I'd enjoy being a Mars colonist if you think, especially if you were born there. Imagine that, you know, you're in a dome on this planet. If you rebel against your parents, there's nowhere to go. You know, if you have a political revolution, there's nothing you can really do because whoever controls the air machine is in charge of everything. There's going to have to be a lot of hard thinking, I think, of political forms, ethics, all those things to do with habitats in space. Also, I mean, orbital habitats, you know, it's the same confined space. Long duration starships, the same. Anywhere where people are confined and dependent on machinery and can't get away from each other, we're going to have to find a new way of living, I think. But if we can reach the planets of Proxima Centauri, then I think, you know, it's as Stapleton thought it would be. Like, it's like a great release. I would say it's like, in a way, it's like the end of the Ice Age. During the Ice Age, we were pushed into you know, tropical zones, Mediterranean zones, the only places that humans could survive. But when the ice retreated, you suddenly had this landscape, like an empty planet waiting for us to colonize, and we did, all the way up to the Arctic and down to the tip of Africa and so on. So maybe the expansion into space will be like that when we get the opportunity.
You are a writer, but also a scientist. So in each novel, you seem to use the science fiction paradigm as an excuse to hide some elements about science, about space, future, or mankind. Some of your work may really be seen as popularizing science concepts.
Yeah.
Is that your intent to do that? Or is it just the way you write that gives this impression?
I wouldn't say popularizing, really. It's more, well, perhaps to some extent popularizing. With time, let's say, this notion of the end of the universe, for example. So yes, I'm dramatizing it really rather than popularizing it, showing what it would be like, or trying to show what it would be like, what it would be like to live through. But it's really, science fiction is really about emotions and human reactions. How does it feel to live in a universe where this could happen? Or all the way back to H.G. Wells, how does it feel to live in a universe where evolution can do this to us? And the Earth will die in the future. You know, the time traveler has shown this, and you get his human reaction. And human reactions can be either positive or negative, or a mixture of the two, to great changes. I mean, surely the next century, for instance, we're going to see climate change and adaptations to climate change. So I think a novel about climate change, as like Flood, for instance, it's not really popularizing. It's bringing these concepts into human experience with positive and negative aspects. Some win, some lose. You know, I think there's always a sense of wonder there that the future will be different from the past and the present. I would see popularizing as meaning being very positive about it, if you know what I mean. I think science fiction is it's always more ambiguous. We could do this, how wonderful, yes, how terrible. Frankenstein, there's another one, Frankenstein. Suddenly we can give life, as they thought, with electricity. What a wonderful thing to do. Is it really? You know, it's ambiguous. The creature is deformed and wants love from the master. And, you know, suddenly you have all these ethical dilemmas that you didn't think of before. So I think the role of science fiction is more, it's not popularising, it's domesticating the ideas and bringing it into our human realm and making us think about how we will respond to these things. But I think science fiction is not meant to be education, but it does have an educative role. So when there are discussions of human cloning, say, everybody knows roughly what that means. And at least even in a kind of cartoon way, we know what kind of issues there might be. And so, you know, we are educated for the future. But yeah. But science, I don't think science fiction has to me anyway, it doesn't have a didactic role, if you know that word. It's not meant as a teaching tool. It is meant as a you know, an emotional focus, really.
Just one more question.
Okay.
How came to you the idea for the Manifold trilogy to investigate by 3 times the same fate, to imagine 3 different progresses around the same initial base? Is it because you could not investigate in a satisfying way all the possible in a single linear story?
Well, exactly, yeah. Those books are really about the Fermi paradox, as it's called, which is this question of why life has evolved on Earth, we've reached the planets, so why don't we see the aliens? Why isn't the sky full of aliens? Why don't we see Dyson spheres and engineered galaxies? Where are they? So it's a paradox, we should see them, but we don't. And there are a whole range of, I've become fascinated by this question. It seems a very deep there's something we really don't understand, I think. And I know astronomers will say that, there's something we really don't understand about the universe. So yes, the Manifold books are meant to dramatise 3 kind of categories of answers to the paradox. One is that we're alone, as in Manifold Time, which is a terrible, bleak solution, it seems to me, but perhaps we are alone, that's how it looks. In Manifold Space, the universe is a dangerous place. Explosion in the galaxy core and things like that. Stop intelligence rising too far, or far enough to be seen, you know. Bang, you're back down to the ponds again. And Origin is about spooky solutions, as I call them, that somebody's hiding something. Like in Star Trek, the Prime Directive, they're hiding themselves. For whatever reason, maybe benevolently, but maybe malevolently. And I thought a good way to show it was, yes, to have the same character, particularly Malenfant, my hero there. He's a space entrepreneur, and he's in the same point in his life in each of the 3 books, but in different universes. One we're alone, one were it's a dangerous universe, and so on. And he has to sort of cope with this, with the consequences. But I think in the end, what's lingered with those books, though, is Malenfant himself. He's become a very popular character because I put him through terrible tortures, really, in 3 different universes, but he keeps on going. You know, in terms of my influences, I think he is. He thinks he's a Robert Heinlein character. He's building the future. He's going to go mine the asteroids and build our future in space and so on. But in fact, he's more like a Philip K. Dick character, where he's faced by these terrible existential problems, you know, that aliens landing and so on in the middle of his project, and yet he keeps on going. He keeps on trying to get to the goal and protecting the people around him. So he's a dogged, enduring character. But yes, by torturing him, really, I was trying to show, you know, the different possibilities implicit in the Fermi paradox. To which, and I've been continued studying it since, and I'm involved in academic groups to do with SETI, the search for extraterrestrial intelligence, the radio astronomers, who've now been looking for over 50 years for signals and found nothing. I mean, you know, there may be something obvious they're missing, but it's negative, and you have to start thinking more and more deeply about what that means. So the Fermi paradox has only got deeper, even since I wrote the Manifold books.
And we talked about what you wrote earlier, but can you say something about what we French are still missing from your your work and what you are working about?
Well, certainly I mentioned my Northland trilogy, so that's the third of those will be published in September this year, 2012. So that's finished from my point of view, and it's alternate prehistory, but it's about climate change and the influence of geography and climate on humanity. It's a new kind of civilization emerging in Northern Europe, just as the farmers were emerging in Southern Europe. So you have different sets of values and methods and clashes. But my next project that I'm developing now is called Proxima, which I was talking about planets of red dwarf stars. It's exactly that. We find a planet, an Earth-like planet, going around Proxima Centauri, the nearest sun, and go and colonize it and everything that follows from that. So I've always liked to do this, to go from one kind of fiction to another. So from historical or prehistorical fiction, with one kind of research, one kind of experience, to far future fiction, another kind of research and experience, but with underlying themes, I guess.
Right. Thank you very much
thank you.
Have answered your questions, and one more time, we're pleased to meet you.
Yeah, thank you. Ditto.